Jungkook's name is again the center of public attention, but this time it is not because of his brilliant achievements, grand stage, or records that he broke. On the contrary, the spotlight comes from something much quieter, darker, and more confusing. In the last few weeks, Jungkook's behavior that was seen avoiding the media triggered a wave of questions that never subsided among fans and international media. What exactly happened to the figure who has been known as Golden Magne? It all started from a moment that seemed simple, but left a big question mark. When he arrived at the airport after the overseas schedule, Jungkook was seen walking fast, his head down, his face almost completely covered by a black hoodie and mask. Usually, he is known to be friendly, occasionally waving his hand, even giving a small smile to the camera. But that day was different. No gaze, no small gestures for fans who are waiting. Just a quick step that seems to want to get away from all the spotlights. The video recording spread quickly on various social media platforms. ARMY, the name for BTS's loyal fans, began to speculate. Some think it's normal, maybe he's tired after a long schedule. But some others feel there is something deeper. There is a change in energy that is difficult to explain, something that makes many people feel that Jungkook is not doing well. Since then, a similar pattern began to be seen. In the next few public occasions, Jungkook seemed more closed than usual. He avoided eye contact with the camera, chose a more private entrance, even several times seen being guarded more tightly than usual. The media began to question, is this only a temporary phase, or is there a more serious reason behind it? In the midst of wild speculation, various theories have emerged. Some associate it with mental pressure due to increasing global popularity. Cannot be denied, as a member of BTS, Jungkook is at a level of fame that has almost no limits. Every movement is monitored, every expression is analyzed. Even small things can be a big news subject. This kind of pressure, for some people, can be a very heavy burden. However, there are also those who suspect that the reason behind his attitude is more personal. Some unofficial sources mention that Jungkook is facing an introspection phase in his life, a time where he tried to understand himself in the middle of his identity as a world idol. At a relatively young age, he has achieved almost everything that many people dream of. But precisely at that point, many new questions appeared about the meaning, about the purpose, about who he was behind all those glitters. Interestingly, in one of the live broadcasts that he had done some time ago, Jungkook had uttered a sentence that was now raised again by fans. With a calmer tone than usual, he said that sometimes he just wants to live like a normal person, walk without being recognized, and feel the world without the pressure of expectations. That sentence, which may sound simple, now feels like it has a much deeper meaning if it is associated with his recent attitude. South Korean media itself is still cautious in reporting this situation. There was no official statement from the agency that directly explained the reason behind Jungkook's change in attitude. However, some entertainment industry analysts said that this phenomenon is not a new thing in the K-pop world. Many idols, at a certain point, choose to temporarily withdraw from the spotlight in order to maintain their mental health. But what makes Jungkook's case different is the scale of attention he receives. Every small change immediately becomes a global discussion. This creates additional pressure, because even the effort to stay away remains under public scrutiny. A paradox that is hard to avoid by someone with a level of popularity like him. On the other hand, ARMY actually shows a more mature side in dealing with this situation. Instead of continuing to demand an explanation, many fans began to voice their support in a calmer way. Hashtags like, "We respect you Jungkook," and "Take your time Jungkook" were trending, showing that behind curiosity, there is great empathy from those who have loved him all this time. Some fans even share their personal experiences about the pressure of life, as if to say that they understand what Jungkook may be feeling. An emotional connection that is rarely seen in the entertainment industry, where idols and fans are not only connected through work, but also through feelings. But the big question still hangs. Is Jungkook really avoiding the media, or is he trying to rediscover himself in the middle of a world that is too noisy? There is no definite answer until now. All there is pieces of moments, brief expressions, and silence that actually speaks louder than words. Behind all this, one thing that cannot be denied is that Jungkook is still a human. Behind the title of global superstar, he is an individual who has limits, emotions, and the need to breathe. And perhaps his seemingly dodging attitude is not a sign of weakness, but a form of courage, the courage to take a break, to protect oneself, and not to always meet the world's expectations. Now the public can only wait. Waiting with hope, not pressure. Waiting with prayer, not demands. Because in the end, maybe what Jungkook needs most right now is not the camera spotlight, but a space to regain his once sincere smile. The silence built by Jungkook actually confirmed that there was something he was fighting for in silence. No long clarifications, no dramatic statements, just attitudes that change slowly but feel real. In the entertainment world that is usually full of sound and spotlight, Jungkook's silence feels louder than anything. Days passed, but the public's attention did not recede. Each brief appearance is now analyzed more deeply than before. The way he walks, how he looks down, even how fast he passes from the camera. Everything seems to have a hidden meaning. Some people start to feel worried while others try to be rational. But one thing is for sure, no one really knows what is going on behind all this. In the midst of an increasingly speculative atmosphere, an old moment came back to the surface. An interview that Jungkook did a few years ago, where he talked about his fear of losing his identity. He admitted that being famous at a young age often made him wonder if people loved him as himself, or just as a figure they saw on the screen. That statement, which used to be considered just an ordinary reflection, now feels like a puzzle piece that is starting to find its place as part of BTS. Jungkook grew up under unusual pressure. He started his career at a very young age, sacrificing many things that for others are a normal part of life. He spent his teenage years that should be filled with the search for identity in practice rooms, recording studios, and concert stages. And when he finally reached the top, perhaps the question came back: who was he without all this? Some industry observers said that a phase like this often occurs in artists who experience an extreme spike in popularity for a long time. They call it identity fatigue, a condition in which a person feels tired of the public identity that continues to be attached to him. In conditions like this, the desire to stay away from the spotlight is not a strange thing, but a defense mechanism. However, what makes this story feel more touching is the way Jungkook lives it. There is no open drama, no conflict that is spread to the public. He chose to be silent, to withdraw slowly, as if he wanted to finish something inside him without having to involve the outside world. A decision that may be difficult, especially when millions of eyes keep watching it. On the other hand, some reports from Korean entertainment media are starting to give a little picture, although it is still vague. It is mentioned that Jungkook is focusing more on himself, reducing unnecessary public interactions, and choosing a more private environment. He is said to spend more time in the studio, but also takes enough time to rest. For some people, this may seem like a step backwards, but for those who understand, this can actually be an important step to go further. Interestingly, this change also has an impact on the way fans see it. If in the past Jungkook was often seen as a perfect figure, now many are starting to see another side of him, the fragile, tired human side, which also needs time for himself. And precisely there, the relationship between him and his fans became deeper. In various online forums, many armies have started to change the way they express their support, no longer just demanding content or appearance, but more to giving space. They realize that loving an idol also means respecting their boundaries, an understanding that is not always easy, but very meaningful. But behind all that support, there is still a longing that cannot be hidden. Missing Jungkook's smile that used to appear carefree, missing the small interaction that made fans feel close to him. And maybe that longing is what makes the situation feel so emotional. Meanwhile, the entertainment world continues. Schedules, projects, and expectations don't stop just because one person chooses to slow down. But maybe that's where Jungkook's courage lies. When everyone kept running, he chose to stop for a moment, to breathe, to listen to himself.